The exhibition games in spring training are finally over. Now the real deal begins on Thursday, so let's talk about it next on Locked On Royals.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are tuned into another edition of Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. Or you can catch us on wherever you get your podcast. That can be Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast. We're on Odyssey and YouTube. Just be sure to hit the follow button and subscribe. If you're a first-time listener, well, we have just 2 days to go and really just one episode to go before opening day. We'll have one tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll probably save our episode on Thursday until after the game because we'll have some time to do it then. Probably better than having our opening day episode happen before the game. We want to be able to recap some real games, and that will be the first one we have on Thursday. Tomorrow, I'll be giving some of my predictions for the season. It's always a fun one to do. So, yeah, if you're that first-time listener, this is a fun time to be joining just 2 days to go before opening day. If you plan on going, if you got some rituals you like doing before opening day, definitely let us know in the YouTube comments below. But if you want to know a little bit more about me, I'm based here in Kansas City. I work at Sports Radio 810 WHB, doing a variety of things over there. But when it comes to this podcast, when you click on the link, you know that you're going to be getting 30 straight minutes of Royals baseball. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So get started today over at FanDuel. The three things we're going to be diving into today. Number one, it kicks off with just recapping the finale today, the exhibition one in Arlington, but also just summing up what we saw in spring training. And now that it's all in the past, the real deal is next. And we get regular season baseball pretty much every single day from Thursday all the way until hopefully the end of October. For the second segment, we'll dive into Kris Bubic's outing a little bit and why I was so confident over the last 2 months that he was going to be a starter in this rotation and why the Royals were so high on him being in the rotation. And lastly, Michael Massey had one of the best springs of anybody, hit over 400, was impressive today against Jacob deGrom. There's a reason why I picked him to be one of the breakout candidates for this team because I feel that he's really coming into his own, having that confidence in the postseason. That feels like it's carried over into spring training. And, you know, if he's played the cards right, it's going to carry over into the regular season. However, we're going to save that for our final episode today. So back to the beginning here. The Royals have wrapped up spring training. They went 20-12. Not that the record matters at all, but there were some things that we were able to take away from this spring training. Number one, Jack Caglione was phenomenal. And Jack Caglione likely progressed his timeline and moved it up roughly a month or two, maybe a couple of months if you really want to break it down. But Jack Caglione going into camp, we knew it was going to be exciting. We didn't expect it to be this exciting where he was a national spectacle for all baseball fans out there. That was my main takeaway from camp. My second takeaway from camp was almost how sure the Royals were about all their spots. Right? There wasn't much competition, and I don't think that's a bad thing either. I brought up this comparison last week, which was that the last thing a football team wants, whether it be college or the pros, is quarterback controversy in fall camp. For the NFL, you got training camp in the summer. For college football, it's that fall camp. The last thing you want is that quarterback controversy, because to me, it shows that your number one is not that far off from your number two. And for the Royals this year, you didn't have that. They were pretty set with what they were going to be rolling with by the end of spring training. Like going into game one, it hasn't changed much to now. There have been some additions. We saw Mark Canha join this team. We saw Cavan Biggio earn his way onto the roster. He did hit sub 200 in spring training, but his on base was north of 400. That'll play coming off the bench. Overall, though, the Royals didn't need to see a ton from a lot of guys out there. And I don't believe that was for a lack of competition. It was that I believe that going into camp, they knew who was going to be leaving camp with them. And if there was a little bit of uncertainty here and there, they weren't afraid to go out there and add. And that's exactly what they did. They were not confident that the final bench spot was going to be taken by Nick Lofton or taken by Joey Weimer. They felt both of those guys, I'll throw Tyler Gentry in there, but they felt that those guys would benefit by playing every day in Omaha. And the best thing for this team right now was adding a veteran bat like Mark Canha that could hit lefties pretty well. That was a move that we weren't that used to seeing prior to the J.J. Picola era. You more so go with the guy that was in your system and, oh, he deserves a chance. That's the misconception about baseball. And maybe that's the misconception about a lot of sports out there. It's a business, and it's a business of winning. And it's not always the feel-good story. If it was the feel-good story, every homegrown guy that you have would succeed at the big league level. And the Royals maybe didn't have the exact offseason they were expecting with guys they were targeting. But as they're leaving camp, you feel pretty good, at least I do, about the state of this roster. I feel that it is a strong roster, and it is better assembled to win this division than they were last year. And I didn't get that sense just based off the games. I didn't get that sense based off what other people were saying. I feel that the way J.J. Picola assembled this roster is one that can be really, really good by midseason. And it's not they're going to be bad and they're going to be struggling a lot in the first couple months. I'm saying that by middle of the season, this roster could be assembled to be one of the better ones in all of baseball. Now, that's the surprising part about this. If Jonathan India hits his ceiling and Bobby Witt Jr. is an MVP player, and Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez are driving in runs, and Michael Massey takes the step forward I expect him to take, and one of the three outfielders turns into a league average hitter or better. 6 guys right there for the lineup that you can be counting on. The rotation is the same rotation, but you take out Brady Singer and you add in Kris Bubic. The bullpen is much, much, much better than it was leaving camp last year. That's what I'm saying. On paper, it is a team that can be really good. And I feel that they assembled this roster to be just that. Everybody goes out there to assemble a good roster. But sometimes it's, the teams that have the highest payrolls, they spend around and they get the best players out there. But then I look at teams like Tampa Bay, and I look at teams like Milwaukee, where they assemble that group to be really good in the end. It almost sneaks up on you. And that's what I'm trying to get at here. I feel this roster and this team's record can sneak up on you by July or August. Where for me, when I watch the Brewers in August and September, I'm going, man, they're 25 games over 500. They're really impressive. And for the Royals, though you can be fearful of regression from the rotation, you can be fearful of the outfield being bad again. We also got to factor in that if they get an MVP player in Bobby Witt Jr., and Jonathan India can really set the table up top, and Vinny Pasquantino can stay healthy, and Michael Massey looks good, and MJ Melendez turns things on, or Hunter Renfroe turns things on, and the bench has guys that can provide some good at-bats here and there, can give you an extra win or two early on in the season. I mean, you could be talking about a team that's really impressive. And unlike last year, where it was, I hope they get hot at the right time and they could make their run deep into the postseason, but they're likely not good enough to compete with the best of the best. I love how wide open the American League is. The Yankees aren't as scary as they were last year because you take out an MVP candidate in Juan Soto. The Red Sox are a little bit banged up. I feel that Baltimore's rotation got a little bit worse, just losing Corbin Burns. Toronto's hit and miss. Tampa Bay didn't do a lot. In the Central, I don't believe the Tigers did enough to run away with the division. As I said in my AL Central preview, for the sake of the argument, I said if it was not going to be the Royals, I feel like the Tigers are going to win the division. It's also very much up for grabs. Cleveland could win it. Minnesota could win it. The Royals could. Detroit could. The only team that can't is the Chicago White Sox. And then let's go over to the American League West. The Houston Astros win that division all the time. And they are a much different looking group now. Seattle's got an elite rotation. They've got a very average offense and at times a below average offense. The Angels are just the Angels, in my opinion. Until they prove they can get back to the postseason with Mike Trout, I just can't consider them to be a playoff team. Texas, who the Royals just wrapped up their exhibition series with, can be really scary, and they got a lot of bombers in that lineup. But who knows? Can they stay healthy? That, to me, is their biggest concern, like Minnesota. Some heavy hitters in that lineup. It's also a lineup that can get banged up. That same thing goes for that rotation. So, again, the American League is so wide open. And I'm glad that now the spring training games are behind us and the exhibition games are behind us because the real deal starts now. And I was getting really tired and bored of having to go over these spring training games and say, hey, so-and-so looks good. Oh, no, so-and-so doesn't look so good. It's spring training. What we saw may translate, but could also not translate. It might be one of those things where Michael Massey goes into the regular season and he hits 200 for the first month. It might be one of those things where, a guy like, I'm trying to think offensively, everybody, to be honest with you, hit pretty well offensively. Jonathan India did, Bobby Witt Jr. did, Vinny did, Salvi did, Renfroe did, Melendez did. But let's pick Melendez. I mean, he hit 240-ish. Maybe he goes into April and hits 310 in the first month. That's just what spring training is to me. And now the fun part about it is it's the real deal. The next one counts, and that'll be Thursday, a 3:10, I believe. I want to say it's 3:10 on the dot at Kauffman Stadium, a sold-out Kauffman Stadium. Cole Reagans versus Tanner Bybee, and the defending AL Central champs and the Cleveland Guardians. They will be there for the entire weekend. Should be an absolute blast. If you're going, let us know in the comments. I unfortunately don't have any free tickets to give away. We will at some point and probably multiple times throughout the season, just not for opening day, but I'm still curious. If you're going, let us know either on Twitter or let us know on YouTube. All right, let's take our first break of the show. When we come back, I was really impressed with Kris Bubic's outing, but more importantly, I want to go deeper into why the Royals made the choice with him and what he could be for the Royals coming up in 2025. That's all coming up next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. Want to give a shout out to a few sponsors, beginning with Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NS-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients also is partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. That's LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, for 20% off. And for wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. That's at just.ingredients over on Instagram. Also want to let you know about Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop managing your money and start building your wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off on your first year. That's monarchmoney.com with that code locked on MLB for half off on your first year. So get started today over at Monarch Money. As I'm watching the game today, it was on the MLB app. Both of these games were free on the MLB app, but I really wanted to pay attention and highlight what Kris Bubic was going to do. He is somebody that I feel for a lot of Royals fans out there aren't as sold on. He's one of those guys that, they were so impressed with the success out of the bullpen. And when the Royals decided to make that switch back to the rotation, you had every right to question that move. Why? Kris Bubic was not that great of a starter when he was last in the rotation, and we finally found that success in the bullpen. And I absolutely agree with the fact that you could call me a hypocrite for almost flipping it on Daniel Lynch, because there are some people out there that feel Daniel Lynch might be better suited for the rotation, and Kris Bubic can be that back-end bullpen guy. And you're weighing the value of their roles in the bullpen. Kris Bubic, come playoff time, was a 7th or 8th inning guy, and Daniel Lynch was a long reliever. He might give you 3 innings, but he's coming in the 4th or the 5th inning, trying to bridge that gap to the later innings. And when I look at Daniel Lynch, I say, hey, you finally found success for him, and it's in this bullpen role. And why do I feel differently with Kris Bubic, where I saw him have value and then go, well, maybe it makes sense to move him into the rotation? I have a few reasons with it. And it goes back to 2023, and I feel I've said this before. Kris Bubic was pacing, even though it was only a handful of starts in April. But to me, he was pacing as one of those guys that in a lost season, you could say, man, at least we got Kris Bubic throwing well in the rotation. Now you got Bubic. Now you got Singer. Maybe you had Alec Marsh by the end of the year, but you were going to feel good about the youth movement and Brian Sweeney and Zach Bove working with those guys. I truly do believe that deep down in my heart. If he didn't have Tommy John surgery, Kris Bubic was going to be one of the most improved guys on the roster in 2023. It doesn't happen, and me playing the hypothetical game is pretty stupid to do. But I watched him in the bullpen, and we heard about things in spring training and how he looked in rehab games. And it was very similar to what he was doing in 2023. There was the strikeout numbers going up. The spin rate was going up. The velo was good. And we saw him in the bullpen, and it all came together, and you went, damn, that's pretty impressive. I still felt early on in the offseason, you keep him there. Go out there and try to assemble the rotation by bringing back the big 3, bring back Michael Lorenzen, and see if you can get someone like Jose Quintana to round out that rotation, or throw Alec Marsh in there again. But you got to leave Kris Bubic in the bullpen. And to me, when the Royals made that switch back and they told him to be stretched out, I wanted to go into surprise last month. Maybe it was 2 months ago. No, it was last month. And ask him about that. Have you been preparing to start? And the fact that he told me they never really viewed me as a reliever, it was more so of the circumstance. The Royals were in a playoff push, and he was pitching well in the bullpen, but they always wanted him to go back to the rotation. That, to me, signaled it's worth the shot again. If they can take a little bit of that, what he did in the bullpen, and take it to the rotation, you've made the right move. And you have the security blanket that he could pitch well out of the bullpen. You've heard me say this multiple times throughout the offseason. That security blanket, if it doesn't work out, he can go back to the bullpen. What I saw today, though, was very impressive, and why I feel very good about Kris Bubic in the rotation, even if there's a few struggles early on. If he's still trying to build back up, the pitch count. He's trying to work deeper into games. Maybe you start out the year only throwing 70 to 80 pitches each outing, and then you want to build it up to 85 to 90, then 90 to 95, then 95 to 100. I can live with some of those early struggles, but the ceiling is there. This is the version of Kris Bubic they viewed when they drafted him. His fastball, when well located, sets up every single one of his other pitches. The changeup, the slider. There was a sweeper he threw. There's also the bullet slider that he likes to call it, though it's more so of a cutter when he was talking to me about it. But today against a really good Texas lineup that had a lot of their regulars in there, that fastball only comes in around 92 to 94. 94 is maxing out on that pitch. The spin on it, though, gives it an extra mile or two, at least for hitters up there at the plate. It just has a late giddy up to it. And when it has that late giddy up, you get a lot of late swings. You get a lot of soft contact. If I had to predict how a lot of Kris Bubic's starts are going to go, it's not going to be the, 6 earned runs on 8 hits and he's just getting knocked around the park. He might have a few of those throughout the season, as any pitcher does. But to me, I feel that when he's on, you're going to get outings like today. 5 innings, 8 Ks, 1 walk, 1 run. Maybe you get lucky enough where he gives you 6 or 7. But early on in the season, I'm not expecting 6 or 7. I'm expecting 5. You get 5 every single outing, I can live with it. But what I can picture with these Kris Bubic starts, a lot of strikes. He seems to have really good command of his pitches. That can always go a long way. I can expect a decent amount of strikeouts, maybe anywhere from 6 to 8 each time out. When he does make a mistake, I feel he's going to give up home runs. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not a good thing. What I mean by that is, would you rather have a guy that throws 5, 6 innings and gives up 3 runs on 3 solos? Or would you rather them give up, 4 runs but 12 hits, just always dealing with base runners and having to work around jams? I feel that he might be cruising some games, and then he gives up a solo shot, and then a few batters later, he gives up another solo shot. Just mistakes. Maybe a fastball catches too much of the plate. You hang a curveball. You hang a slider. I can live with that, though, with my number 4 guy. You're not expecting your number 4 guy to take the backpack, go into the game, and dominate 1 through 9. That's what you expect from the ace. You don't expect your number 4 to do that. And to me, Kris Bubic can do 75, 80% of that. He's going to also have those outings, though, where he really looks sharp and he looks good. And today, I thought he looked very sharp. And in fact, he shouldn't have given up any runs because Hunter Renfroe really misplayed a ball in right field. I get it's a weird park at, Globe Life Field where it's almost like a giant shopping center. It's like trying to catch a fly ball in Shields, and he just didn't track it that well. Could have been 5 shutout innings with 8 Ks for Kris Bubic, 5 innings of 1-run ball. That'll play, though. Okay, we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, let's talk about Michael Massey and how impressive he was this spring. That's coming up on Locked On Royals. Welcome back into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can catch us on wherever you get your podcasts. That can be Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit the follow button and subscribe. Want to give a shout out to the title sponsor of today's Tuesday episode, and that would be FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Again, that is FanDuel.com. Go get started today. For one of my March Madness picks, I will go with the over on point total for Maryland's hero in the previous game against Colorado State, Derek Queen. Did he travel? Did he not? Kind of a moot point now because they're playing going into this weekend, but I'll take the over on points for Derek Queen in the Terps' next game, which is the Sweet 16. One of my favorite players of camp going into it and also leaving it was Michael Massey. And Michael Massey, I truly believe, has this opportunity to surprise a lot of people this year. His play style is not one that screams breakout candidate. I don't feel if you asked a lot of MLB Network analysts or guys at Fox or guys at ESPN if Michael Massey would be their pick for breakout player. In fact, there'd be more people telling you MJ Melendez is their breakout player, or Maikel Garcia, simply due to their batted ball metrics, their baseball savant pages. With Michael Massey, it's not so much that. I'm one of those fans that thinks confidence in the postseason goes a long way. When you are able to show up in front of sold-out crowds on the road, at home, and Michael Massey did that in Baltimore, he did it in New York, and he did it in Kansas City. That just takes you to another level. I feel it really does. Because now fans can count on you to show up in the biggest moments of the season. And for Michael Massey, that went a long way with him. And in spring training, it's the lowest leverage it will get all season long. These games don't count. These games don't matter. And he just hit and hit and hit. And today he opens up his game with an 11-pitch double off Jacob deGrom. I want to say it was Jake Eisenberg on Twitter, Royals broadcaster, does phenomenal work. And it was one of the best at-bats of spring training. I second that. You're facing Jacob deGrom. I don't care that it's the older Jacob deGrom and it's not the prime deGrom who had a sub-2 ERA with the Mets and struck out almost everybody he faced. It's still Jacob deGrom who's throwing upper 90s. And he's now spitting on pitches I didn't see him spit on a lot last year. And he's going to have that bouncing around in the lineup. He might hit near the top. He might hit in the middle. He might hit toward the bottom. It might just come down to how that lineup is playing. But when you can see him laying off certain pitches, waiting for ones in his wheelhouse, that is, I would imagine, the coolest part about being a scout or being a hitting coach. When you're telling all the people out there, hey, we feel we're close with this guy. We see a lot of potential in this guy. And we know he's right there. You know, you still have Alex Zumwalt, Keone Duren, and all the guys in the clubhouse that feel that one of these years it's going to click for MJ. Or one of these years it's really going to click for Maikel Garcia. Everybody's got their wish list out there for guys they want to see improve, to really tap into their potential. Michael Massey, though not a lot of people are talking about him as that breakout candidate, I feel he is on the cusp of it. I feel he's got that ability to be a tremendous second baseman. Because of the defense, he's got sneaky power. He can hit for average. And if that walk rate goes up a little bit, just a hair, you're talking about somebody that can maybe hit 280, have a 310 OBP, run into 15 to 20 home runs, play a really good defense. All of these things are going to matter. And that can be the difference in you sitting on the couch in October and you actually getting in. Like, is Michael Massey getting to that point for Royals fans where you do count on him to be good? We've gotten there with Bobby Witt Jr. We've gotten there with Vinny. We've gotten there with Salvi. We've gotten there with Lugo and Waka and Reagans. We've gotten there with Ursig. But I'm talking about for the lineup. We're not there yet with Garcia. We're not there yet with Melendez or Isbell or Renfroe. Maybe I'm just higher on him than most. I feel that we've gotten there with Michael Massey. You've heard me say that a lot in this segment. I feel, I believe, I think. That's just the truth about Michael Massey from my point of view. He's one of those guys that when he strolls to the plate in a big moment, I have confidence. There's not a lot of guys that I have tons of confidence in going to the plate, and I want them to surprise me. Michael Massey's performance in the postseason, I thought when he was healthy, he was a serviceable guy. And when he got hot, he was an above-average player. You factor in the defense, he can really be a good player for that lineup. And Jonathan India moving around, it tells you that they're all right leaving Michael Massey there. Now, Jonathan India is not going to move Michael Massey to the bench. They got him playing every single day. If he has to move around a little bit, he has to move around. So be it. He was damn impressive this spring. He's been damn impressive now for the last chunk of Royals games, dating back to the postseason, the regular season. And I really hope that he can carry that momentum into the regular season, which begins on Thursday against the Cleveland Guardians, opening day for the 2025 season. That'll do it for another edition of Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jack Johnson. Thank you for making Locked On Royals your first listen today. For your second, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball with hosts Dominic Martino and Matthew Ane. MLB Fantasy Draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Tomorrow, we'll give our season prediction, our league leaders, our division predictions. All of that's going to be handled tomorrow. But until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.